Welcome to this evening's presentation of Budgeting for Your Future. Please note that participants' cameras, microphones, and chat will be disabled throughout the event. Participants are encouraged to submit questions to the Q&A box, and the presenter may address if time and topic allow at the end of the presentation. Thank you for joining us, and it's now my pleasure to turn the event over to our presenter, Eureka Boulay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eureka Boulay. I am a branch manager at UMass 5 College Federal Credit Union. And today you'll be joining me for budgeting for your future. I'm going to share my screen and we can look at the slide. So a little bit about UMass 5. We are a not-for-profit financial cooperative. We were started in 1967 by UMass Amherst employees. We serve the students, staff, and alumni of UMass Amherst. Everyone who has an account with us is a member owner, a shareholder of the credit union, which means that they can vote for or run for a volunteer board of directors. Because our board of directors are volunteers and members of the credit union as well, they make decisions that will best benefit our members. So we create products and services that matter to our members, which also makes us the #1 lenders, solar lenders in Massachusetts. We also offer a 0% farm share loan that benefit both our members and our local farmers. We have 6 branches in Western and Central Mass. We have got a branch in Springfield, Worcester, Hadley, Northampton, Leeds at the VA hospital, and we offer a full service contact center. We also have ATM on each of the 5 college campuses. We offer no minimum balance rewards checking accounts, and they are free as well, with many other savings options, and also many different types of loans. We're talking credit building, personal, auto, home, solar loans, and options for student loan refinancing as well. We also offer a financial advising program that can help you look at retirement options as well as some investment options. Oftentimes when people think about credit unions, they think they're really small and they don't offer certain services, but any of these services you would expect from a big bank, UMass 5 offers. Now moving on to why we're here today. Today we're going to look at big picture. We're going to look at how to best get your future started and start on a right foot financially. So we're going to discuss financial considerations when looking at different job offers. We're also going to discuss money management as well as wise credit usage. When we think about job offers, the first thing that come to mind is the salary. What's the pay? So, but a job offer is more than just the pay. Other things to consider when looking at a job offer are benefits, tax implications of the position, the work environment. Now, different things are going to matter differently to different people. First thing is the salary/pay. Depending on the position, the pay could be hourly, could be salary, or it could have a base pay. But other things you want to look into when looking at the salary are overtime pay. Will the organization give you overtime pay? And what are their philosophy on pay increases? Is it going to be merit-based, or is it going to match inflation, or neither? So these are different things you want to look into when you're looking at a pay that a company offers you with a job offer. The other thing as well is payroll tax classification. Usually when you are self-employed or a contractor, you will be responsible for much more of your taxes versus a wage earner. Another thing to look at too is commission. Is the position commission-based? And how is commission calculated? Will the position offer you a bonus or rewards program? Now, bonuses will vary year to year. It might depend on how successful, how much profit the organization makes in a year, or it might be based on your performance as an employee. The other thing to remember when looking at bonuses also is tax implications. Oftentimes, bonuses are taxed more than your regular pay or your base pay. And does the company offer stock options? That is something to look into as well, especially when you're thinking about big picture. Some companies might offer it, others might not. But if you also find that you're asking too many questions, you can visit websites like www.glassdoor.com and see what other employees have commented or posted about the employer that you're considering. Now, another big portion of a job offer is the benefits package. Again, different things are going to matter differently to different people. The first thing is health insurance. Will the health insurance that the company offer meet your needs? Is it going to meet your medical needs? Do they offer a flex spending plan that you could use for medication, prescriptions? Will it cover spouses? Do they have a family plan? So on and so forth. The other thing is paid time off. Time off is very important to a lot of people. So you want to make sure that you are getting what you want out of that package. And can you roll over the paid time off into another year if you don't use it this year? Do you get payout for time off when you leave the company? So different things to take into consideration. Another thing is remote work. Since COVID, a lot of companies have gone remote. If that is something that is important to you, that's something you want to consider as well when looking at an offer. If it is not a permanently remote position, right, can they offer it on a needed basis? For example, if you're on parental leave, could you work from home part-time? Or if you are looking at retirement plans also, does the company offer a match? If the company offers a match, make sure you are able to match that. For example, if a company says they will match 4% of your income for retirement. So let's say you're making $50,000 a year and you are putting away 4% into a retirement plan and the company is matching you for 4%, that is $2,000 of free money that you are getting for your future, for retirement. Another thing to look into are disability and life insurance. Disability and life insurance are things that will help protect you and your family in a worst case scenario. So if you think you have a spouse, for example, and you want to make sure that they are taken care of in the event that you were to pass away, life insurance would be something you would want to look into. The other thing is tuition reimbursement. Now, a lot of us are going into the job market with student loans. If the company can offer you tuition reimbursement, you could potentially go into graduate school or further education with that completely paid off or partially paid off. So if your company offers that, that is something that would be very helpful. Or student loan debt assistance, right? If they are offering a program by which they will pay off some of your student loans, you want to look into that as well. And childcare assistance. Some company offer on-premises childcare, and others might help you pay for childcare. So these are different types of benefits that you really want to take a close look at in a job offer. Now, another thing is cost of living. Cost of living includes many different things. It includes rent/mortgage, so your housing. your utilities. The utilities also might differ based on which city or which town you're looking into. Insurance, food, entertainment in the area you will be working in. So cost of living has different factors. We want to make sure we're looking at as many of them as possible when looking to make a decision. Relocation, moving costs. If you are going to need new supplies, for example, if you're going to be working in a different climate, will you be needing a whole different wardrobe? Now, different websites offer some help with that. There is payscale.com and NerdWallet. Both of these websites help you look into what the cost of living would be in different cities that you might be considering job offers in. So let's say you have a job offer in Boston and a job offer in Hartford. These websites can help you determine, what the cost of living is going to be in these cities and what kind of income you will need to be able to maintain a sustainable or a quality of life in these different cities. So let's take a look at an example on NerdWallet. So on NerdWallet, you have the option. So NerdWallet, the way it's set up is to show you your current position, current job versus something that you want to move into. Now, you could use that to be Boston versus Hartford. It doesn't have to be where you currently are in, but you can use it to differentiate between the two options. So the first one, we're looking at Boston. And the median for a 2-bedroom apartment is $3,375, whereas in Hartford, it's $1,523. So the cost of living in Hartford is 23% lower than the cost of living in Boston. So if financial situation is what's most important to you, maybe then Hartford might be the better decision. But if you know you want to live in Boston and that quality of life would be best for you, then at least you know what you're going into moving to Boston. So this is a great resource to help you differentiate or analyze these two job offers and how it would in fact impact you financially in both cities. The next example is cost of living on PayScale. So in PayScale, here we're looking at Boston versus San Francisco. So let's say the job position in Boston is offering you $65,000. You would need $79,239 to match the cost of living in San Francisco, because the housing there is nearly 60% higher in San Francisco than it is in Boston, right? So you would get more for your money in Boston than in San Francisco. So these resources would really help you break down the numbers a bit. I mean, you might have to do a bit more Googling to see what the cost of living would be, including transportation, eating out, insurances, so on and so forth. But at least with these resources, you can look at some major things like housing and how that would be different in different cities. Now, quality of life, standard of living, right? Well, like I said before, if Boston is where your heart is set to because of quality of life, or maybe that's where family is, and so on and so forth, these are also things you want to take into consideration. Do you like so the other thing too is the company you're going to work for, do you like their ethos, right? Is there opportunity for growth, or is it going to be you being stuck in the same position for the next 5 years? Or do you fit in with the culture of the company? Is that something that you are going to be comfortable in, because you do spend at least 8 hours of your day in this organization? So you want it to be something that you're comfortable with, because whilst they might give you a high salary, but do you want to be there, right? Do you want to spend 8 hours of your day working in a place where all you're getting really is the money, but everything else you feel miserable? And again, looking at the location is the proximity to your family, the safety of the surroundings. Can you walk home at night from work? And what access to your hobbies? If you know you like to go to concerts, for example, you don't want to take a position in a small town where the next big city is about 2 or 3 hours away. And the quality of healthcare, access to healthcare. Will it have, if you need a lot of medical assistance, do you have close proximity to a good hospital? And access to education as well. If you're looking to further your education and you go into, let's say, a PhD program, is it close access to the university that you'll be attending? So these are different factors to take into consideration, not just the salary, not just the pay, but also the benefits and the standard of living. Now, once you make your decision, right? You make your decision, you've looked at what pay would be like in different cities, how far your money will go in Boston versus Hartford versus San Francisco. You've looked into the company and you like what they stand for. You see an opportunity for growth. You see that, this is a company that I can really be happy working for. You like your living arrangements, you like the city you were living in. Now you want to take a look at how you're going to be managing your money in order to live comfortably. Now, different things are going to come into play here when we're talking about money management. And the first thing we want to do is think about a spending plan. Now, when we think about budget, we often think about how restricting a budget can be, right? When we think about a budget, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to get my iced coffee every morning anymore. Oh my gosh, I don't wanna deal with a budget because then it's gonna make me realize just how broke I am. So the first thing we want to do is kind of spin it a little bit, right? Let's not think about it as restricting our money or our spending, but almost as a spending plan. Like now you are putting the money towards something, right? You're gaining control over your funds, and you're no longer thinking about it as restricting, but as controlling where your funds go. The roadmap, think of it as a roadmap to achieve your financial goals. The financial goals can be anything from paying down your student debt to planning a travel, planning a trip. And it can also be looked at, what can I and cannot afford. And it also can help you identify areas to improve your financial life. It's just think about it as gaining control over your finances and not so much as restricting your spending. There are different budgeting philosophies. Today we'll be focusing on a budgeting to zero, what we also call a zero-sum budget, which means that we're going to allocate every penny to an expense and making sure that at the end we have $0 left once we've allocated our funds. There are different types of budget plans. Some popular ones include the envelope system. That one is more cash-based, where you take your pay and divide it in different envelopes of cash. And once that envelope runs out, then that's it for that expense. Let's say you put an envelope for eating out and it's got $200 a month in it. Once that envelope is done, then there's no more eating out. There is also the 50-30-20 system, where you put 50% of your income towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20 towards your goals, like savings or paying down debt. So the first thing to think about when we're looking at a spending plan is what's your goal? Right? We're going to decide what's most important to us. Is it going to be to ensure that you're allocating money to all your necessities? Or is it going to focus on gaining control over your spending? Is it going to be saving for a strategy or a security? Or is it going to be paying down debt? Find out what's going to be most important to you when you are setting up that budget. Ultimately, you want to feel like you are in a good place financially. So whatever that goal may be for you, find out what it is and how important it is to you. So there are different types of goals, right? There are different types of goals. One of the most common goals is starting up an emergency savings, because you want to make sure that if something were to happen, if you get what we call a financial shock, you'd be able to be prepared to deal with it. So that could be saving up to 3 to 6 times your basic monthly expenses. Other goals can include maybe buying a new car, a computer, saving for a down payment on an apartment, traveling, large expenses like buying a house, a wedding, and another one that should be a goal for everyone really is retirement. You want to prioritize also things that are most pressing, right? You don't want to start saving for a trip when you know that your car will be breaking down maybe in the next 6 months. So you want to prioritize on what's most pressing, but while also keep in mind the bigger picture, like the bigger goals, long-term savings, like retirement. So for today's example, we're going to look at us setting a goal of an emergency fund, right? The first thing we want to do is think of your goal as an expense. If you set your goal as an expense, then you can easily work it into your budget. So the way we're going to set a goal as an expense is going to do a little bit of math. So let's say that you have a monthly minimum expense of $3,120. So that's including all the basics. So your car loan, your rent, cell phone, utilities, insurance, groceries, gas, student loan, credit card. So those are the expenses that you really cannot forego in a month. Now that adds up to $3,120. Let's say you want to save 3 months worth of that. That's going to add up to $9,360. Now, we also want to apply a timeline to our goal, because one of the basics of setting up a SMART goal is adding a timeline to it, right? So let's say in 3 years, you want to have 3 months worth of emergency expenses. That then you can divide that total of $9,360 to the 3 years or 36 months, and that's going to make for a monthly payment of $260, right? So now we've turned our goal of 3 months worth of emergency expenses into an expense that we can easily fit into our budget. Now, let's say $260 is a bit too aggressive. Then you might want to look at pushing your deadline to 5 years instead of 3 years. And that then changes our monthly expense to $156 per month. Now that you've done the math and you have your monthly expense number for your goal, we want to look at how possible or how feasible it is to include that amount into your budget, right? To do that, we're going to look at your income versus your expenses. So you want to look at how much money is coming in, where is it coming in from, how much money is being spent, where is it going, and how much your goal expense is. So we've calculated that goal expense, and now we're going to see what can you change to achieve that goal expense. The first thing is, when you're looking at your income, you're looking at any money, any funds that you're receiving regularly. So we're talking scholarships, financial aids, salary, tips, any type of work-related earning that you can count on that's coming in regularly, child support benefits, alimony, and regular gifts. So if you know that you can guarantee that your parents are going to give you $100 for a birthday every year, you can count that as an income because you know that's going to be coming in, and that can also be used towards something else. Estimate how much you will have per month. So you want to use your take-home pay, your net pay. So oftentimes when positions are offered to us, right, we get a salary number. Let's say they say they're going to give you $65K a year. $65K a year is not your net pay. So you cannot budget that $65K because there are taxes involved, Social Security numbers, maybe retirement funds, so on and so forth. So what you could do, you could go to ADP and use their calculator tool there, and that can help you determine based on your state or based on how much you think you might apply to retirement and other benefits, what your net pay will be. So when you're considering a job offer, use that tool and see and get an approximate number of what your net pay might be, and that can help you build a budget. You also want to look at when will you get the funds. So if you're going to get the funds, let's say for a scholarship, you get the funds in bulk at the beginning of the year. You want to look at how you can disperse those funds over the months that you're going to need it for, and see what that monthly income is going to be. So let's say in September, you get your scholarship comes in, maybe it's a stipend of $20,000 for the year. You want to divide that for as long as you need it. Maybe it's for the year, maybe it's for the school year. Then that can help you get a monthly income that you can work with. And how will you get those funds, right? Are they going to be direct deposited? Maybe you can find an account that has low to no fees, so that you can guarantee that all the funds that you're receiving from your direct deposit is going to go towards your expenses and not towards bank fees. And anything that you can count on, it can be considered as an income. Now that you've calculated your income, right? As part of this zero-sum budget plan, we want to look at our expenses. We're going to create a list of monthly expenses. You can use different things to help you get that list. So if you use online banking, you can pull up your statement for a month and see how much goes towards different things every month. You can also record them manually. There are some spreadsheets or some workbooks that you can buy and help you record that manually. You can also, if you use cash, you might want to keep those type of workbooks and have a log to enter all your expenses. Consider variable expenses. Now, there are some expenses that are yearly. There are some expenses that fluctuate depending on the time of year. So for example, heating if you have electric heat, you might be paying a $200 electric bill in the winter, but in the summer you're paying $40. So you want to get that number total and see if you can divide it by 12 months so that you can have a fixed number for it for the month. And another thing too that we don't often think about as an expense is gifting. So if you know you are going to, let's say you have 4 friends that you buy presents for every year on their birthday, and you're spending upwards of $50 per friend, that's $200 right there in a year. So if you divide that by 12, not only does it help you keep to your budget, it also makes sure that you're not overspending on this particular expense. So different things to think about are things that are different throughout the year. And maybe let's say an insurance, like your car insurance, you pay it once a year because it gave you a discount. So something like that, you want to divide that by 12 so you can get a monthly figure to best fit your monthly budget. And don't forget to add in your goal expenses, right? We saw goal expenses earlier. So if your goal is to pay down your student loan and you've done the math and you know how much you're going to need to put away to pay off your student loan in 10 years, then add that to your expense list. Add your goal as an expense to your budget so you can keep abreast of it. Now that you've made a list of your incomes and you've made a list of your expenses, you're going to subtract them from each other, right? You've got your income minus your expenses, and ideally you want that number to be 0. If that number is more than 0, you've got an excess in your income, check to make sure that, did you include all your expenses? Is there something that you forgot about? Maybe you forgot a Spotify bill, or you forgot childcare or something like that. Make sure that you have included all your expenses in your expense list to make sure that you're not missing anything. And if you've put everything on there and you still have, let's say, an excess of $200, could you be saving more? Could you be putting an extra $100 towards your retirement plan? Could you be putting an extra $100 on your car loan or your student loan? So you want to make sure that that number is 0. Now, if that number is less than 0, as in you've got a negative number, you might want to look at decreasing your expenses or increasing your income. So that is something we want to look at when we look at a job offer, right? Let's say we've looked at how much cost of living may be in Boston, and this company is offering you $65,000. You've created a budget and you realize, oh no, $65,000 per year is not going to be enough for me to pay for all my expenses in a month. There are different things to look at. Can you decrease certain expenses? Can you reprioritize your goal? Or maybe this job is not the right fit for you. Maybe you need a bigger salary. Now, when you're evaluating your expenses, don't automatically eliminate. Be strategic about it, right? Oftentimes we hear, oh, if millennials stop, buying coffee or buying avocado toast, maybe they'll be able to afford a home. Now, your $5 coffee is not going to buy your home, but maybe being strategic about your expenses can help you meet that goal if buying a home is your goal. So when we say be strategic, we want to break down the expenses into 3 different groups. You've got your fixed expenses, flexible expenses, and discretionary expenses. Fixed expenses are expenses that you are not able to get rid of, or it's going to take time for you to get rid of them. So we're talking housing, transportation, medical bills, dependent care, credit card / loan payments. These usually involve either a financial institution or some type of institution that you simply just cannot forego paying your payments to. Then we're looking at flexible. Flexible are expenses that while we still need them, we can change the amount that goes towards these expenses. So let's say, for example, you used to shopping at Whole Foods and you have $500 going towards your groceries per month, maybe you might want to look at a different grocery store, or maybe you might want to look at buying fewer items per month, different brands when it comes to personal care items, for example. And maybe you're spending $100 a month on new clothes. Do you need these new clothes, right? Could you allocate less funds towards that particular expense? And lastly, our discretionary expenses. These are expenses that, whilst they bring joy, you could forego them, right? Do you need YouTube, Spotify, Hulu, Netflix, so on for entertainment? Could you maybe use a friend's password or forego that particular entertainment altogether? Maybe you've been very generous in the past with your gift giving, and maybe cutting it down to $20 per gift might help your budget. So these are expenses that you can forego, at least maybe for 3 months, to help build your budget back up. So when we say be strategic, look at these expenses, find out what's most important to you, and where you can shift some funds to and from to make sure that you are at that zero-sum budget instead of a negative or shortfall in your budget. This is a budget allocation guide. Some folks use it to help them determine, how much should be going towards their expense, certain expense. So that's something that you could use when you're looking at job offers. So if you're going to get $65,000 from a position and you're going to be living in Boston, is more than 40% of your income going towards your rent? Is more than 30% of your income going towards food? So that's a very helpful guide to help you determine how much of your income should be going towards certain expense, and that can help you determine if a job offer is the right one for you. Again, this is going to vary from person to person. Maybe your financial goal is to pay off your student debt in 7 years instead of 15. Then you might be looking at putting more towards your personal debt than, let's say, towards food or towards transportation or savings. So these numbers are going to vary from person to person, but it's a great tool to use to help you determine, where to start with your budget. Maintaining a budget. Now, the most important part about active money management is consistency, right? You don't want to sit down at a table, pull out a pen and paper. You've sat at this table now for an hour, breaking down the numbers just for you to go back to overspending the next month, right? You want to make sure that this is a budget that you are going to be able to maintain, that you're going to be able to sustain. So there are different ways to do that. You can use a paper ledger. You can use an Excel spreadsheet. There are some apps that you can use as well for that. There is Mint.com. Mint.com is free. There is You Need a Budget as well. That's an app that you could use, but that one does charge a fee. So you could look into these different things and see how they can be helpful for you. Now, we know that life, can come at you pretty fast. You can work out this budget, it's going well for you for 3 months, 6 months, and next thing you know, you've got this unexpected expense. While it is a good budget, should be helping you plan for that unexpected expense, but it might be more than what you anticipated. So we might be turning to something else. Saving for your future, again, when you're setting up your goals or when you're setting up your budget, you might be focusing on being able to pay your monthly expenses. Your basic necessities might be your main goal. Whilst we want you to be able to maintain your monthly necessities, we also don't want to forget about your future and saving for the future. First thing to remember is to take advantage of all retirement saving benefits from your employers. So if they're going to match, take the free money from them. If they have, most employers offer a benefit specialist. So if this seems to be too much for you or you don't know where to start, meet with the benefit specialist so that they can explain things to you. The one thing you want to think about when thinking about retirement is the sooner you start, the better it is going to be for you. So the sooner you're able to, the sooner it can fit into your budget, the better it will be. Let's say, for example, you invest in a retirement plan that is paying 8%. That is a pretty aggressive retirement plan, but if you were to find one and you eventually had $100,000 in there, in 20 years, $100,000 can turn into $465,000, right? That is a pretty large amount that you didn't start with, right? You started with $100,000 in your retirement plan, and 20 years down the line, it's nearly, it's over $450,000. So the sooner you can start, the better it is going to be. Because I read recently in the Boston Globe that currently, if a couple were to retire in the state of Massachusetts, they would need $45,000 a year to retire comfortably. Now, if you were to retire at 67 and live to be 85 years old, you're looking at $800,000. Remember, you retired, you're not working, right? So these are funds that you need to get from somewhere. And the best way that's going to work for you is if you had a retirement that just started early on. The other thing you could do as a retirement plan is an IRA account. IRA accounts are individual retirement accounts. They can help you save for retirement, either tax-free or tax-deferred. So if it's a Roth IRA, you're paying your taxes on the income that is going in. And if it's a traditional IRA, then you're paying taxes on your withdrawals. So you're paying taxes on a Roth as you contribute and taxes on a traditional as you withdraw from them. Different plans are going to work out for different people. With the traditional IRA, myself personally, that's what I have for a retirement account, because by the time I retire or when I am in retirement, chances are I will be in a lower tax bracket than when I am contributing to my retirement. So another thing that you could do is meet with a financial advisor to help you plan for that. So if you feel overwhelmed by the different options and you don't know where to start, seek professional advice. At UMass 5, we offer free financial advising, and they can help you look into the different retirement plans, what would work best for you if you wanted to be more conservative or more aggressive. So seek the advice of a professional to help you look into these different things. Now, a big part of becoming an adult and joining the working world is credit. Credit is very important. It helps you maintain a stable financial life, but at the same time, credit can be very dangerous to your financial life. The first thing to remember is that credit is not an extension of your income. It is very tricky when you use it as one. It is not an extension of your income. While it is good to have good credit, and there are things that you absolutely cannot do without good credit, such as buying a house or maybe getting a car loan, so on and so forth. But you need not think of it as an extension of your income. That is a slippery slope. You want to also not rely on credit to pay your expenses. Keep your balances as low as possible. Pay bills on time and try to pay more than the minimum. Paying just the minimum on your credit accounts, especially if there are credit cards, can get very costly. And lastly, if you are in a bind and you cannot meet the scheduled payment, reach out to the creditors. Many creditors out there are willing to work with you because their goal is to eventually get paid the money. So if you are in a bind and I just lost my job, or I had an emergency and that took most of my money, reach out to them and see if they can schedule a payment plan, or maybe they can modify your payment plan and help you skip the next 3 months worth of payment until you catch up. So call them as soon as you know you will not be able to make a scheduled payment. So like I was saying, paying the minimum is very tricky, especially on credit cards. So I'm going to show you an example of what it would be if you were to pay only the minimum on your credit card. So let's say your balance is $3,000. Let's say your balance is $3,000 and the interest rate on your credit card is 21.9%. It seems steep, but most store cards are in the high 20s. Let's say, for example, a Marshall's card is 29.9%. Let's say the minimum payment is calculated at 2.2% of your balance. If you were to only make your minimum payments every month, you would end up paying nearly $13,000 in interest only. In interest only. We're not talking about the outstanding balance of the $3,000 that you started with. This is interest of nearly $13,000. And you know how long it would take you to pay that off if you only paid the minimum every month? 50 years and 1 month. That is longer than the mortgage. So this is why we really don't want to use credit cards or credit in general as an extension of our income. We want to think of it as a way to build credit, build healthy credit to help you take advantage of different programs that are out there. So let's say you've built healthy credit, and now instead of having to pay 7.9% interest rate on a car loan, you've got good credit, and now the interest rate is 1.99%, right? This is the difference between good credit and bad credit. It will help you save money in the long run, because then you're not paying higher interest rate on different products. You are able to then you offered reward credit cards, you offered lower interest rate on different loans like mortgages and car loans. So you want to learn how to use your credit wisely. Different ways to, build good credit and use it wisely is to obtain a low limit credit card with a low APR. Aim for an APR less than 15%. At UMass 5, we have a low interest rate credit card that has the highest interest rate on it is 13.75%. So aim for a credit card with that low APR. Find one with great local access and customer service. Especially when you first start, you want to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, can you help me with my credit card? I saw this charge, I don't know what it is. Can you help me look through it? I'm not able to make this payment. Can you help me fix that? A local access or good customer service can be very helpful when you're first starting out. Put one recurring monthly payment on it, right? Put your Spotify or your Netflix on it, and then you know that every month that's going to get charged on it. And then put it on automatic payment to pay off the balance. So let's say your Netflix bill is going to be $15 a month. Put that on there, and then set up an automatic payment to pay off the balance every month. Set it and then forget it, right? Let's say for a year or even two, the only thing that's getting paid from your credit card is your Spotify, Netflix, and then every month as well, once that bill is due, your checking account is paying it off in its entirety. Once you set it and forget it, and now let's say 2 years down the line, you're looking to buy a car and you go in for a car loan, that constant, charge and repayment then is going to help build your credit, right? So then you can qualify for these low interest rates, for these reward programs, and so on and so forth. Because a big portion of credit is the history on it. History accounts for 30% of your score, of your credit score. So you want to make sure you are building that history, but you're also building good history. That is using the card and making your payments in full and on time. And if you're using credit, it can help to have, I know a lot of us can be scared of credit cards, and especially with the numbers I showed earlier, that didn't put you at ease any more than on credit cards, but you might need them for car rentals and hotel rentals and paying emergencies like getting a flight. Maybe we have family abroad and we need to buy a plane ticket the next day for an emergency. Credit cards will really help with that. But what we want to remember is to keep your balance as low as possible and to make your payments on time and make more than the minimum payments as often as possible. Now, this was a lot of information in a very short time. But what I want you to take away from this are the resources available to you. You can always use UMass 5. Even if you are not a member of UMass 5 yet, there is a branch on campus that you can go to and sit down with someone to review a budget. You can call us, email us, or schedule an appointment to go into a branch. You can visit our website, and we have an online financial knowledge center on there, and it's a money thing with some short videos that explain different financial concepts like budgeting. You can also use Green Path Financial Coaching. They help a lot with budgeting and paying down debt as well. The UMass Career Services and the Alumni Association, also great resources available to you. 211.org can help you find some local resources that can help with housing, transportation, and food securities. So if you have any questions at all about that, you can enter some questions in our Q&A, and we have some time. We've got 7 minutes that I can answer a few of your questions. If you've got any questions at all, please feel free to enter it in the Q&A box. And if you have some questions after the session too, you can feel free to email me at eboulay@umass5.coop. That is EBOULAY@umass5.coop. All right, thank you all for coming. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the UMass Alumni Department, and you can email me as well.